I am Sam Otten, and with me is Jason Book, writer and creator and artist of Me and Him, which is a webcomic that you can find at meandhimcomic.tumblr.com. Hey, Jason.
Hey, how's it going, Sam?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm really good.
We're going to be talking about Justice League issue 45, which is the Darkseid War, part 5. And that's leading us into these 6 one-shots that are continuing and kind of expanding the Darkseid War saga written by Geoff Johns. Issue 45, Jason Fabok's taking a little break, or maybe he's working ahead on the issues that are going to come later. But we have Francis Manapul taking over art duties for that issue. Basically, in this issue, my take on it was the main plot did not really push forward as much as I was expecting, but really what happened was each of the main characters were put into place as their kind of god positions. So it sets up those 6 one-shots. Mm-hmm. So, Jason, what did you make of the issue as you read it?
Yeah, it's like the way you just said it, it's kind of like, I guess, a springboard for these one-shots that are coming out. It's funny, like with Batman in the chair and Superman turning, negative and all that, I just assumed it was going a different way, but them all becoming gods, it was kind of funny to see. Like, I was like, oh, I guess it's going this way. So I liked parts of it. I really found that having Jason Fabok's art through the whole thing and then all of a sudden switching to Francis Manapul was a little jarring. I found that, like, his art is great, don't get me wrong, but, maybe it would have been better just for the one-shots to have a different artist. But that being said, I enjoyed parts of it. I liked the parts with the Flash, was kind of an interesting use of the character. I liked Hal Jordan in it. And, yeah, like you said, not a lot's happening, so it was almost like how they kind of wrote themselves to have this break for the one-shots, I think. So I'm looking forward to see what happens next.
Yeah, I think the main things that are coming to my mind that sort of actually advanced the plot was they just made this quick mention of where's the Anti-Monitor? Oh, he's kind of changing.
Yeah.
Like, okay. But that was just a couple panels.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lex Luthor was pushed forward. So, like, he goes back to, or he's on Apokolips, and then Darkseid's dead, so his Omega effect kind of comes back to Apokolips, and then Lex Luthor kind of gets put into this position of mistakenly sort of being seen as this kind of savior figure on Apokolips, and he becomes the god of Apokolips. So I felt like Lex definitely pushed forward, but the others kind of just positioned around slightly to go towards their one-shots.
Yeah, didn't they kind of do this already in Final Crisis? Didn't somebody else turn into Darkseid? Remember that?
I can't tell yet, like, how they're going to do Lex. I mean, the way that it plays out might be totally different. Yeah,
it's kind of interesting. I mean, it feels like they're kind of switching, characters around and stuff like that. Although I did like it when we saw that Kalibak and all those guys are coming back to, exact some revenge, right?
Yeah. And I will say I was kind of interested to see Wonder Woman and Mr. Miracle, because at the beginning of the arc, I thought they were going to be, like, pretty central, and Geoff Johns in an interview said, like, Wonder Woman and Mr. Miracle were going to kind of carry this story. But I feel like for 2 issues in a row, they haven't really gotten much of the spotlight. But I'm still keeping out hope. I mean, I'm still enjoying it, and I'm still keeping out hope that in the next kind of phase of the Darkseid War, they will come back into the kind of central role.
Well, yeah, and they're on the cover too, right? So it's kind of like
a
little misleading, eh?
Yeah, a little bit, because, like, they don't even have the one-shots. Like, there's not a Mr. Miracle or a Wonder Woman one-shot. It's these others.
Yeah.
But maybe that means that Wonder Woman and Mr. Miracle are going to be the ones that have to pull it back together, because they did not actually get corrupted or turned into these gods.
Which would be cool. I'd actually like to see a team up of those two. That I don't think that's really been done before, so that'd be cool. And a little bit more about the Manapul art. There were some great pages, though, that he did. Like the part where Lex was in that machine. The coloring there and stuff was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so my initial reaction was very similar to yours, which was like Manapul's art was good, but I did kind of miss Fabok because I just thought Fabok had a really good thing going through the whole arc. What kind of threw me off more than Manapul's art was actually the coloring. So, like, Manapul and Buccellato teamed up to do the coloring, and they brought in, like, a totally different style of coloring. Like, they're doing the kind of textures and gradients and dots and that kind of stuff.
That's true, yeah.
Which I think is cool, but it was very different from the way that it had been colored in the previous issues.
Yeah, you're right about that, yeah. I was kind of referring just to certain images where it popped really well, like for that Lex part in the machine and things like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if I read it back to back, I'd probably totally agree with you there.
Yeah, and my initial reaction was that this art had taken a kind of a different turn, and I had really liked what Fabok was doing. But after I sat on it for a little while, I'm actually okay with it because I think
Yeah,
in the grand scheme of the Dark Side War, this issue is going to be kind of paired with the one
I
shots.
think so too.
Uh,
It's kind of a
and so,
transition, right?
yeah, so I think
Yeah,
that even though it's part five of the Dark Side War, it's really more like the prologue to the one shots, and the one shots are going to have different artists.
yeah,
So I'm
that's
actually
true.
kind of okay with it. I think Fabok's going to have things through 44, and then I think he'll pick up after the one shots. So I think it'll actually still make sense because this issue wasn't really the mainline plot. It was really setting up the one shots.
Yeah, I mean, as a monthly book, it's just kind of messing with the momentum, though, because, it's almost like they went, well, we're going to have a bit of a break, and they told people that, but then they decided to kind of give us a band-aid to cover the break, and I'm sure there'll be some good one-shots in there, but part of me is like, it was so, decent every month and, like, really
Mm-hmm.
well done that I would have
Yeah.
rather seen, like, a kind of a tighter, let's get the story going and finish it off. It doesn't need to necessarily be
Mm-hmm.
12 issues or whatever. Let's
Mm-hmm.
just tell the story as much time as it needs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, we're gonna kind of on a weekly basis be getting these one shots, and we got the Batman one shot already, which
Hmm.
I just read. It's pretty cool. If
Okay.
you're interested in Batman and Joe Chill, and spoiler, but the Joker kind of comes in at the
Hmm.
end, last page as well. So if you're curious about that, you might check it out.
Interesting.
But we've got Batman, we've got the Flash as God of Death, we've got Superman, God of Strength. Like we said, Lex Luthor's God of Apocalypse. Shazam all of a sudden becomes the God of Gods, which happened, I thought, pretty quickly, but he's set up there.
That's kind of funny.
And Green Lantern is heading back to Oa. So, which of those kind of seems the most intriguing, or do you think might have the most potential as a one shot?
I don't know. Like maybe I have to check out the creators again to see because that would obviously tip my hat in the direction
Yeah.
of reading or one where I really dig the writer or the artist. The Batman one sounds cool. I'd probably check the Superman one out. And to tell you the truth, in the issue itself, Green Lantern was like really entertaining because he was kind of like the naysayer guy, like what's going on, like you've been in that chair too long. I thought that was a good line.
Yeah, and he's not, as far as I can tell, he's not actually a god. He's just going back to Oa. So I think his one shot is going to be him going back to his home.
Yeah.
I think it is interesting. Like Batman goes back to Gotham, Green Lantern goes to Oa, Lex Luthor's on Apocalypse. So they're putting each of them in kind of an interesting situation or a scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I like those little kind of people on Apocalypse. They almost seem like characters from Mad Max or something like that. It was
Yeah,
kinda
I
cool.
thought of that too.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, we've got those one shots coming, and then we'll have to see what is actually going on with the Monitor, and then is Darkseid really dead, or what's going to be going on. So, I mean, for me, I'm still really excited. I'm still really enjoying it, but I didn't quite expect this one to be the prelude. Although maybe I should have just expected it to set up the one shots.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and we'll check out a couple of the one shots and maybe, talk about some of the ones, the highlights of those ones as well.
That sounds good. All right, thanks, Jason.
Okay, anytime.